clothing up to the foundation auction. But Mary, I think first we need to tell the story about how this coat came to be.
Really?
Yes.
We're in Athens. It's cold, and I don't have enough clothing with me to keep myself warm. So we're out, walking around, looking in shops. We go in this one shop, and there's these jackets on the table. And I just see the fur, the color, and I look at the size, and oh, it's my size. It's amazing. So I put it on, and I'm walking around, feeling the fur, and I have Kelly and David and his wife, Melissa, who also, and Lynn. And I ask them what they think about it, and I turn around, and they're all laughing in hysterics. And I didn't know what they were laughing about. And Kelly says, Mary, we need to see what's in the back of the coat. So we decided we'd buy it for the fun of it.
And it could be theirs, Mary. You can donate to the foundation.
Yeah, Nikki's going to auction it off. But welcome to our wonderful farm here. This, I should say, to your farm. This is the fruition of a vision that Gary had many, many years ago. In 1991, he was here in Croatia looking for a farm because he'd been studying helichrysum in his laboratory. And he was constantly seeing wonderful things happen with this oil. So he knew that it was an oil that belonged to the world, belonged to young living. So he came here with the intention of buying a farm. And he had met with some local people. He had given them money, kind of like a down payment, and he was going to go forward with it. Then the war broke out, and all foreigners were told to go home because it was dangerous. And he left, lost all his money, lost everything. And he was extremely unhappy about losing the opportunity to have helichrysum. When the war came to an end, the first thing he said was, we got to go to Croatia. So we met a lady by the name of Cornelia in Marseille, who, it's a funny story, but she had met Von Harding, and Von says there's this lady from Croatia who might be able to help Gary. So we met with Cornelia, and Gary said, well, I want to go to Croatia to find land. And she said, well, I'll go with you. So they made the time, he came here, and she introduced him to Mary. Mary, M-E-R-I. And Mary is like, I don't know, she does everything here. She was the first one. She's like the best person here. But I said that to her today, and she said, no, Zoran's number one. And I said, no, you are. And she said, no, Zoran's number one, I'm number two. So that's how she sees herself, but she's a very important person, and she takes care of everyone, and she does a magnificent job. Well, she told Gary that she had met with a few farmers. So she takes him around, and they go and they visit, and they meet Dominique. And that's the farm that you're all familiar with. How many have been to the original farm? What we didn't know is that this farm was owned by the government, and it was leased to 4 veterans. And it was the government's way of saying thank you for fighting in this war, whatever they did. And we didn't really understand the whole arrangement, but as time went on, Gary was frustrated because he wanted to own the land, because he wanted to be the one in control of what went on in the land. And the more he talked, the more he realized that it wasn't going to be possible. The government wouldn't sell it to us. It was only a special deal for these veterans. Well, as time kept going on, we saw things being built and all kinds of things were happening out there that we didn't have any control over. So Gary was frustrated over it and didn't know exactly what he was going to do. Maybe he did, I don't know. All right, so here's the rest of the story. Gary said I need to have an office building. We need to have an office here in Split. So she comes to wherever we were working, I think to the hotel, and she said, I think I found a solution for you. So she brings us out here to this building. It was the first building we looked at. And we come to the front door, and Zoran comes walking out because he's the general manager for the Swiss company that owned the building. The Swiss company wanted to close down all their operations in Croatia and wanted to sell the building. So Gary walked through and he said, oh, this will be perfect. I can even build a distillery inside. So we decided we're going to buy this building. We had tremendous opposition in the Utah office because Croatia was just coming out of the war. It was a war-torn country. The economy was barely alive, and they were all fearful of all the things that could happen trying to build in a war-torn country. And Gary said, no. Croatia is going to be the hub for young living in Europe. He knew it, he saw it, he felt it, and they couldn't talk him out of it. So we paid cash for all of this that you see. Well, he's talking to Zoran, and he's telling Zoran that he needs to find a manager. Then we heard that Zoran made the statement, well, I'm not letting someone else take my job. And he was still the general manager for this other company. So as it turns out, Zoran became the general manager of Young Living Croatia here in Split. And he's done a magnificent job. Everything that the Croatia team does is first class. It is so beautiful, you're just going to be in awe at all that you see. Well, there's this piece of property out here behind us, and it was for sale, and Gary was concerned that it might be sold out from under us. So he calls Zoran and he says, Zoran, I need you to go buy this property. So Zoran buys this property against the advice of those in the office again. But Gary had a knowing. He just knew what was going to happen here. Well, that was the solution to the problem that we had with the farm. And Gary bought this big machine that you see out here in Germany. It's a rock crusher for $100,000 and had it shipped down here. And as you know, maybe you don't know, but helichrysum needs kind of a gravel, rocky-like soil to grow in, so they have to crush the rock. So we bought that from the farm because we own that. But Gary said, we can build a farm here. Well, there's not enough land here. But what people don't realize is that there are so many little helichrysum farmers out there. You know, maybe it's an acre, maybe it's 2 acres, maybe it's less. But they don't have any place to distill. They can't afford a distiller. So I think it's going to turn out to be something really spectacular for us in creating a relationship with all of these small farmers. So we don't have to farm huge acreage, which costs a lot of money and takes a lot of time. We have the acreage that we need, and we can farm what we have, but when we need more helichrysum, we can distill for the small farmers and buy from them. It's a win for them, and it's a win for us. And I was talking to Zoran earlier, and he says he has such a great relationship with all of these farmers, and they're looking forward to seeing what we're going to do here. So that was how the whole story evolved. So I personally am extremely excited because now we have a farm that we own. This is your farm, Young Living's farm. And Zoran is in complete control of what goes on here. And when you see the distillery inside the building, just start imagining what that's going to be like when they move it out and it's on Mother Earth. It's going to be fantastic. But we were desperate for helichrysum. Everybody needs helichrysum. Does anybody here not use helichrysum? Anybody not know how spectacular this oil is? If you don't know, then start having kitchen table conversations with everybody in the corner and discover the spectacular value of this oil. So Gary built this distillery in 19 days. He had cookers shipped down from France, extra ones that we weren't using. And then Cornelia helped him visit vendors here in Split. And he had cookers made, he had all the piping, everything that we needed, and he brought it together. And Gary was practically working around the clock. And he'd tell the workers, the people working with him, go home for the weekend, go be with your family, or there's a holiday, take time off, go be with your family. And they all said, no, if you're going to be here, we're going to be here with you. And so these wonderful, wonderful people here in Croatia bonded with Gary. And for those of you who knew Gary, he had such a powerful energy. It was fun to be with him. He always made you laugh, and he was a hard worker. And he was always educating while he was working. It was a dream to work with Gary. And so they wanted to be with him, so they all stayed. And they helped him complete this distillery in 19 days. It was really interesting. When we were here as a family, Jacob and I went home because Jacob was going to Costa Rica for a student abroad program. And Gary said, well, I'm going to keep Joseph here. And if you look in my Seed to Sail book, you can see Joseph out in the field turning the material, the helichrysum, because it has to cure for a couple of days. So Jacob didn't luck out. I don't know, maybe he did because he didn't have to work very hard. He went home. But Joseph had that fabulous experience of being here with Gary. And Joseph, honey, stand up so they can see you. Joseph was only like maybe 7 or 8 years old at the time. So he's a grown boy right now. But you can talk with him and he can tell you the stories of what it was like being with Dad, and he had a wonderful time. It was a great memory building experience for him. So that's how this all came to be. So you can be proud of what we have here, knowing that we own what we have here. Everything is Young Living, everything is paid for, there is no debt, and Zoran is very aware of debt, and he keeps Young Living in the black. He takes care of everything. He runs everything as though it were his own. And we are very, very blessed to have him. And he's blessing the lives of millions of people who live in this part of the world, because it's only going to grow. It's only going to get bigger. And instead of shipping oils to Utah, bottling them and shipping them back, they're doing it out here in this building. Can you imagine the money that we're saving and the efficiency with which we're doing it and how fast our members can get their products? It's marvelous. It's wonderful. So have a great time while you're here. Get to know, talk to the staff. They are so loving and so kind, and they're thrilled to have you here. It's a big deal that you come and support what they give their heart and soul to make really great for all of us. So thank you and have a wonderful day.